Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is JJ and I love books. That's not a surprise to any of you if you look around here or you've been around here for a while. However, I thought it would be fun to tell you a little bit about the books that I've been reading. I have 4 of them pulled out already, and then if I still have time after I tell you a little bit about those, I'd love to tell you what's on my TBR, because I don't know how long some of these books have been on my TBR, but I would really like to get to them. And so I'm going to tell you about them so that you can also maybe read the books that I'm reading or tell me whether or not it's even worth reading. Ready? Go. Step 1. Hobbit lessons. Step 1, book 1. The first book that I've currently been reading is Hobbit lessons. If you love The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and you are a young person who is looking for some direction in life, this book is a really short, really cute, really easy read for you, where it really just dives into The Hobbit and the lessons that we get from Tolkien in The Hobbit. Different things where, like, what are the most important parts of life? What are the most important pieces of where you're going and what you're doing and what you should care about, and how do you find out who you are as a person? This book is going to ask very specific questions for you. It's designed to be journalable through, so like there's questions at the end that you can really reflect on. And it's also really, really nice and helpful just to help you feel like it's okay if you don't know where you're going. It's been very comforting. Hobbit Lessons by Devin Brown. Highly recommend this book. Next up, I've been reading this book for a long time. Every time I try, life comes and just slaps me upside the face again. This is The Raven by Mike Nappa. This is my favorite author, which is why I feel so bad that it's taken me this long to get through this book. It's been literally forever, and I think part of that is because every time I'm like, okay, I had to set it down. I have to go back and figure out what I've missed. But this book is a crime and suspense novel. And if you're interested in a very twisty story set in Atlanta, I believe, this is a good book for you. Highly recommend. This author in general, highly recommend. Like I said, favorite author probably of all time. I've recommended his books before. I will continue to recommend his books probably until the day I die. On the Spectrum by Daniel Bowman Jr. This is a book written by a professor where I went to school, and it is one of the very few accounts of living with autism as an adult and the impact that has. So if you're interested in learning about autism, if your friends are autistic or you think you might be autistic, or even if it's just something that you've realized, like, oh, perhaps it might be beneficial for me to learn more about the world that we live in and the plight of other people around me, because that's how you be a responsible, good human on this planet. This book is incredible. His style is impeccable. His writing is beautiful, and his understanding of the world and humanity is just fully on display in this book, and I love it so much. I mean, it's made me cry multiple times, which is why it's taken me a while to get through it. But it's beautiful. Highly recommend this book. And lastly, the one that I'm currently reading right now, this is the last of my current reads, is My Story by Marilyn Monroe. I'm not usually a nonfiction reader, which is why it's funny that 3 of the 4 books that I'm currently reading are nonfiction. But this is a very interesting read. It's a look behind the curtain, really, of what her life was like, what it was like to be famous and beautiful and an icon before people really knew what that looked like and how that impacted people. And it's a really interesting perspective of how fame can impact you, or not. And so it's just a really interesting portrayal of somebody who's been so well known and beloved, but not, I mean, how well do we really know her? You know, we know of her, but how well do we know her? And so this book has been a really interesting read, just for that purpose alone. Also, there's really cool, this particular edition has a lot of her photo shoots that she's been in, in different, like, high, it's very, I mean, it smells incredible because of the quality of the paper and the ink. So if you're a perpetual book sniffer like me, you'll want this one just for that purpose. It smells amazing. 10 out of 10. But it's also a really interesting story. Okay, next up, let's talk about some of the books that I want to read after I finally get my way through any of those 4. One of these days, I may actually catch up to my TBR pile. Today is not that day. So, starting off strong, Cinder. My friend has been telling me to read this book probably since high school. She gave me a copy in hopes that that would speed up the process. Now it's on my shelf and it hasn't sped up the process, but I do want to read this book, Cinder by Marissa Meyer. It's just, oh, it's so shiny. That's cool. I love it when people do that with books. Anyway, yeah, it's an interesting Cinderella retelling, and one of these days I will get to it. This is on my TBR. You'll notice too that most of the books on my TBR pile are going to be older titles. Almost none of these are new. And the cause of that is that I live under a rock. For as much as I'm involved in publishing, I'm involved in publishing for one very specific publishing house. And because of that, I only know the new releases from that publishing house or the authors that I follow on TikTok or YouTube or Facebook. And so I only know of certain new releases and not like tons of new releases. So most of these books are going to be old news, probably for most of you, but they're still on my TBR. So I thought I would tell you about them. Next up, this is probably the newest book on my TBR, Iron Widow, for obvious reasons. I mean, look at that cover. It's beautiful. I need it. I need it. So good. I own it. Now I just gotta actually read it. Wraithwood by Alyssa Roat. Alyssa, if you're watching this, I'm sorry I haven't read it yet. I'm sorry. Life is so busy and I desperately want to read this book. Even more so now that the whole trilogy is out. I'm so behind. Why is life the way it is? Oh, this one smells really good too. I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't know about you, but sniffing books is so good. Anyway, this one has been stated and compared to perfect for fans of perfect for fans of Harry Potter. It follows a young magician as she goes and lives with her very weird, odd extended family at their mansion for the summer and gets involved in the war within the wizarding world. So if you're looking for a good YA fantasy book, check out Wraithwood. This one has been on my TBR since college when my friend started writing it and I read the first draft for a critique group. Now it's here in my hand and I still have yet to read it because I have very little self-control. But it's definitely on my TBR. As is the rest of the series, but I gotta read the first one first because I'm the kind of person who reads book series in order. This one's obvious. This one's going to be a movie soon. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Again, self-explanatory. I was a huge fan of the Hunger Games back in the day, which is also why I have them all up there. I was debating, and the reason that I haven't read it yet is because I was debating binging the whole series again and then reading it, or reading this one and then reading the rest of the series. If you have an opinion on that, let me know. Should I read them in chronological order of the events of the book or in publication order? Let me know. If you've done both, if you've read this one yet, should I or should I not? Let me know. I'm curious because I really need to read this before the movie comes out because that's how I've done everything else, and frankly, I just feel like I have to. For young me's sake, I have to. Next up on my TBR is The Pawn by Stephen James. I have met Stephen James at least twice. lovely human, lovely writer, lovely writing coach. If you're a suspense author looking for writing help, Stephen James is incredible for that. And because I know how good of a storyteller he is, I know that I'm going to love this book. I just haven't actually gotten around to reading it yet. Yep, so this is on my TBR. Harlan Coben, The Boy from the Woods, and frankly every other Harlan Coben book that exists. I read Runaway by Harlan Coben, and I'm obsessed with this man's writing now. He's so good. So good. So good. Anyway, so this was on my TBR. And I also have just The Woods. Both of these are on my TBR. And the last one for this video is Origin by Jessica Khour. I don't know if you can see that. This one was gifted to me by a friend in high school. Don't worry, it wasn't borrowed, it was gifted. She read it before she gave it to me, but she was like, I was very careful not to bend any of the pages. And I am so intrigued by it. I mean, the tagline here is "The jungle hides a girl who cannot die." I've been curious about this book since she gave it to me, and I haven't read it yet. It's been a long time, but I still have it. I still really want to read it, so Origin. Anyway, yep. That's my TBR. Those are the books that I'm currently reading, the books that I want to be reading, and I'm sure, I mean, 90% of this bookshelf is books that I haven't read. Okay, maybe not 90%, maybe closer to like 80 or 75%. But I could spend forever just working my way through the books already on my bookshelf without finding out more about even more books that exist in the world. And yet, here I am, consistently looking for more books that exist in the world. I love them. I love them. I need them. I'm excited about them. I hope that you are also excited about books. If you if you have any books that I should put on my TBR, please let me know. If you have opinions on reading order, which of these books you've read, which of these books you haven't read, or any of these severely underrated, are any of these new to you titles, please let me know, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to check out my website for short stories that I'm writing, and also check out my merch shop. I have tons of fun stuff that I'm putting together for you because it's just fun for me. It's another way that I have a creative outlet, and I would love it truly if you could support me in that way. That would mean a lot. But until next time, I'll see you then. It's been so good to be here with you today.